Hey gang, welcome to Quarantine Youth Group, but hopefully not for much longer. It's like pushing 90 degrees outside right now, and it's probably about 110 here in the youth room. I'm not kidding. It is hot, and so, I love it. I'm not complaining, but I needed a milkshake, and this is the real deal. Straight from Smitty's. Did you see that strawberry? My favorite. And I'm missing you guys. I hope we can get together soon. Planning on it because I really just can't take this anymore. I appreciate the fact that you're watching these videos and that I really do, but I can't wait till we can get back together. For today, I'm asking a question: Who is my neighbor? When I was 12, I was awarded actually two milkshakes, and this one's real too. Chocolate, my second favorite. But I was awarded two milkshakes for hitting two home runs in Little League, believe it or not. And I know that probably a lot of you cannot believe that. But we were at the end of our season having an award picnic. And my coach literally gave me two milkshakes, one for each home run that I had hit. And boy, I can still remember standing there with one in each hand, feeling like I'd hit the jackpot. You know what I mean? I was anticipating the brain freeze. That was awesome. And then my mom came up to me and said, "Why don't you go give one of your milkshakes to that boy playing over there? He wasn't even one of my teammates. He was just kind of a street kid wandering through the park." Well, as you can imagine, I gave her a good, "What in the world are you talking about, woman?" kind of look, okay? And, I said, "No way." Thinking, these are my milkshakes. I earned them. I don't want to share these with anyone. Isn't that typically, our gut response? This is mine. We're so selfish, looking out for our own interests. How does this impact me, my future, my security? But Jesus teaches us something different. In Luke 10, a religious expert tried to test Jesus, telling him that we're supposed to love God with all of our heart, soul, strength, and mind, as well as love our neighbors as ourselves. Well, Jesus told him, "You're right." But then the man asked Jesus to tell him who his neighbor was. And so Jesus told the guy a story. Actually, we call it a parable, which is a story with a lesson. And this story challenged this religious expert politically, racially, and religiously. And we find it in Luke 10. In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes. They beat him and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side." So let me just kind of stop right there. I just want you to understand how tense it was getting in this story. Jesus lived in a hyper-religious society in the Jewish culture. And these were religious leaders that Jesus just threw under the bus. All right? So it was getting tense. But a Samaritan. That "but" there is a big deal. I mean, it was letting the people and this religious expert who was listening know that the next character that Jesus was about to introduce in his story stood in contrast to the ones he just mentioned. The Samaritan was going to be the hero. And that was shocking. It was outrageous. I mean, Samaritans were considered half-breeds, traitors, were religiously offensive. Non-Samaritans went out of their way to have nothing to do with them. It'd be as though if I was telling this story today with, Pastor Steve and Pastor Austin as the leaders who passed by on the other side of the road. And then, let's say, had Colin Kaepernick as their hero. Some of you just got like, seriously? Maybe get a little tense? What if the hero was President Trump? Or Joe Biden? Or an Islamic leader? What if the hero was a gay person? Or Tom Brady? He seems to be enemy number one these days. What do all these people have in common? Well, at the mention of their name, people react. Maybe one of them triggered something in you. A glimpse of what that religious expert would have felt hearing that a Samaritan was the hero of Jesus' story. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. And then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." That Samaritan went way beyond the minimum. He literally did everything he could for this stranger in need and promised more if needed. And then Jesus asks this: which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? Well, the expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." And Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." Do you see what Jesus did? I mean, he pushed all the buttons, right? Race, politics, religion, all the things that still divide us today. Not only divide us, but they rip us apart. And then he flipped the question back onto the religious expert. The religious expert wanted to know, who is my neighbor? I mean, he was drawing the line to focus on others. How do I classify others to see who I should love? But Jesus asked the question, who is the neighbor? I'm called to be a neighbor to anyone I encounter. Instead of trying to classify others, put them in their categories and decide which ones I want to be neighborly to and which ones I don't, I need to classify myself as the neighbor. Do you see the difference? Our inclination is to look out for ourselves, to be like me at that award picnic. Oh, what about me? These are my milkshakes. We ask things like, how does this impact me? How does this impact my future, my security? But in Jesus' economy, It's a different set of values. Throughout the New Testament, Jesus tells his followers, us, to put the needs of others first. To care for the hurting, the needy, the sick, and the homeless. He tells us to love our enemies and to go the extra mile. In Jesus' economy, it's not about me. It's about being a neighbor to others. Jesus calls us to go and do likewise. You know, we worry about so many things that are temporary. You know, what about the economy? You know, who can we blame for this, season that's been so disrupting? Are those people really worth the cost, my time and my energy? Is neighboring worth the sacrifice? But Jesus calls us to be the neighbor, to go beyond what is required, to empathize with those who suffer in ways that we don't, to ask the question, how can I demonstrate Christ during this time? Do my words hurt my Latino American or African American brothers and sisters? What does my focus on money say to my friend whose mother just died alone in the hospital? If people overhear my conversations, would they be pointed to God? Or would my words point them away? Oh, here's one. Do my impassioned posts online build walls or create bridges? What does neighboring look like? Well, it looks like loving God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. What does loving God that way look like? Well, it looks like loving others the way that Christ loves them. It means sacrifice. It means empathy. Instead of outrage, understanding. Sacrificing my security, popularity, status, finances, physical well-being, safety, for the sake of others. It means being a neighbor to everyone, not just the ones I like. If you're not neighboring well, how could you be loving God well? The two are vitally linked. Think about this. What's one way, large or small, that you could be the neighbor today or this week? In person or maybe even online? With your family? Maybe even with a stranger at the store? Or with your teammate? Or with the person who has a different political view than you? Let's be known for being people who neighbor well. By the way, I shared my milkshake with that boy that day. And I'm good friends with that man today. Well, gang, that's it for today. Don't forget, PB loves you.